Alright, welcome back to now week 6 of the GLCC, going up against my good friend Kirb, who is the coach of a monotype-grass team known as the Korok Space Program. Kirb, as you can tell, is a very big Zelda fan, and so they've had honestly a really big impact on my life. I know them IRL, and we've been friends since about middle school-ish, and if I didn't know him, I probably would have never gotten into like competitive Pokemon at all, because he inspired me to get a Switch Lite after I lost my initial Switch. If you know, you know. I'm just gonna leave it at that. But yeah, he inspired me to get that, and inspired me to play my two now probably favorite games of all time in the two most recent Zelda games, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. They are a blast, and I 100%ed both of them. So weird flex, I know, but that's just how much I love the games, is that I decided to go all the way and dedicate myself to 100%ing them. So huge thanks to Kirb for introducing me to that, and to Nintendo pretty much as a whole, outside of like Mario. I knew about that previously, but yeah, again, without that, definitely would not have gotten into Mons, and so I'm very happy that I'm here now because of him, so thank you very much for that. But in short, we still do have a game to play against him, and we are going to try and win. I will say that this entire recording, what you're hearing right now and what you'll see next after this little segment, was done after the battle by quite some time. And so this is not a live commentary. Unfortunately, I've been going through finals week at school here. We're on a quarter system, and so we have 3 quarters, which means we have 3 periods of finals. And so it's not like semesters where you have 2. And so a little bit unfortunate that this happened to coincide with the GLCC here. But what this meant is that I was very careless recording this video and my live commentary beforehand, and I actually forgot to plug my mic in. And so the video is still there, but it has absolutely zero audio over it. You can't hear me talking about it. And so what we're gonna do instead is just watch over a replay of the battle. So I already know what's happened. You guys don't. I'm not going to spoil it, but hopefully that doesn't bother you guys too much that this isn't a live game. I was super disappointed that you guys didn't get my live commentary, because there was a lot of, I don't know if emotions is the right word, but I was talking some pretty big amounts of smack before this game, and yeah, all of that is now gone. So it's a little bit too bad that that didn't get captured in this video, because there's like a whole story arc to it, man. I swear to God. But yeah, unfortunate. Is what it is though. Go ahead and get into breaking down the team that I did end up bringing into Kirb's. So you can see Kirb's team on the right. There's some pretty scary threats. Namely, the Hydrapple is gonna be there to do some big amounts of special damage into my team. And then there's also a lot of physical cleanup, like Zarude, Lilligant Hisui, which can set up things like that. I also have to worry about Vileplume, because it could be Terra Water, and I have to worry about Sinistcha because it's heat proof, and obviously that's going to help his team out a lot into my fire type attacks and things like that. And so there's a little bit of some sketchy stuff to really think about here. And one thing that I do know that Kirb likes is bringing a Tailwind Sash Hoppip. Not only is Hoppip insanely funny to bring, but underneath Tailwind, a lot of these sweepers can be really deadly into my team. And so I definitely want to try and avoid that if possible. At the end of the day, it is just a Hoppip, and so I'm probably just going to go for a kill. But if that leads to my demise, so be it. So be it, right? And so the first Pokemon that we're bringing here is going to be Choice Banded Flygon, Jackal holding a Choice Band, like I just said. Thank you, very smart. We're Stealth Rocks, First Impression, U-Turn, and Outrage. First Impression, obviously, is going to be big priority stab damage. That's base 90, I'm pretty sure, that attack. So it's going to be doing a lot of damage here from a max attack Adamant Flygon. We also have U-Turn here, as U-Turn spam is going to be pretty good into a monotype-grass team. And then, of course, Outrage just for some general damage, and Stealth Rocks for some hazards. Yeah, his only removal is Defog on Lilligant Hisui as well as Decidueye Hisui, and so that's probably going to mean that if I get these rocks up, they're going to be here to stay, and obviously that would be very nice into this Ogerpon here. I'm not sure if he's even going to bring the Ogerpon because I resist both of its stabs naturally with my monotype, and so it realistically doesn't have a great matchup here, but I'm pretty sure it does get play rough, so who knows, it could definitely come. Next up, we have our first win condition here. We have a Gouging Fire holding a Lumberry. Lumberry is here for a couple of reasons. One, this paste is wrong, actually. I ended up switching Dragon Claw out for Outrage, and Outrage obviously causes confusion when it's done doing its thing, and so Lumberry will end that. Additionally, Effect Spore Vileplume could end up paralyzing or poisoning or even making me fall asleep, and so as I'm sweeping with this Gouging Fire, I would not like that to happen. And so we are going to be Lumberry to prevent that as well. As you can see, our EVs are pretty meticulously crafted. It's been a while again since the game was played, and so I don't exactly remember what they do. But the funny thing that I do remember was after boosting up, I don't even really need a fire move to deal with this, but I can pretty much just click Outrage, and since there's no fairy types on the opposing team and there's no fairy terras either, it's absolutely free. There's no drawback for me just doing that. So that's why I ended up going with instead. We have Substitute, Dragon Dance, and Morning Sun just to facilitate us setting up, hopefully, in that regard. Substitute is going to sort of shut down any Strength Sap shenanigans. That's a tongue twister on like Sinistcha, anything like that. And then, yeah, hopefully we'll be able to boost up and just immediately claim a lot of KOs, maybe just win off lead, because I am going to be leading this pretty much all the time. Next up, we have Dragalge Smoke holding a Habanberry. This is to switch in on a lot of physical attackers, as you can tell by our spread, but we do have that berry in case Hydrapple gets out of hand. Fickle Beam, Draco Meteor should all be able to be eaten by this Dragalge here. So yeah, I'm not too worried about anything like that, so we'll be able to pivot in and then Sludge Wave it because I believe we're actually faster than it, so that's going to be good. And yeah, we do also have T-Spikes because his poison type is going to be Vileplume, and that could Terrastalize out of it. And again, his removal is pretty weak. We also have Haze just to prevent setup on things like Lilligant, and Flip Turn for some general momentum. So some pretty standard utility moves there on Dragalge. Next up, we do have that Roaring Moon. Ash is back at it again, and this time we are a very standard booster energy acrobatics Dragon Dance type set here. This is almost like exactly the Smogon set that was ruining all of OU and forced Roaring Moon to be, I don't know if it's currently in Ubers. I know it was in Ubers and then they decided to try it down in OU again, and so I think it might still be in OU, but don't quote me on that. But at one point, this set made Roaring Moon an Uber Pokemon, which is pretty crazy. Obviously, Oh, my Terra type is Flying. I'm not going to be Terrastalizing into Flying this game. Don't worry, I'm not a cheater. But I think that that's because I literally just ripped the Smogon set out of the calculator, and it has Terra Flying on it, and I didn't change it back for any reason. So yeah, this is like almost the exact same set as that. And that's because this set works brilliantly against a team full of Pokemon that are weak to Flying. So hopefully, if Gouging Fire doesn't work out, Roaring Moon after one Dragon Dance should just be able to clean up the rest of the game. Next up, we have Valkyrie the Cyclozar holding Leftovers. This is pretty much just your standard support set, Dragon Tail, U-Turn, Knockoff, Rapid Spin to make some progress, hopefully remove some stinky items and get some chip on everything, get rid of any potential hazards. He could be Spikes, Ogerpon, things like that. Which would be not so hot into my team because I don't have any other boots or anything like that. So yeah, that's the idea behind this guy. A very standard Cyclozar, just with no attacking moves. So pretty boring, nothing more to really comment on there. And then lastly, our final check for everything is going to be Choice Scarf, Fenrir the Latios here with Timid, max special attack, max speed. So very, very standard set as well for this guy, with Draco Meteor and Luster Purge for dual stabs. Ice Beam as well hits everything super effectively because it's a mono grass team. Well, not everything, but you know what I mean. And then Flip Turn just to gain some momentum in case he shows that he has a switch in. So yeah, a couple of very standard sets here at the bottom. Ideally, this fancier Gouging Fire can just sort of do its thing. And then if it doesn't, then Roaring Moon can do its thing. And if it doesn't, then Scarf Latios can do its thing. And if it doesn't, then Priority Choice Band Flygon can do its thing. So we have a fair few bit of checks here. I definitely do think that this matchup on paper should certainly always be won by me. And yeah, that's gonna be it for this little segment of the video. Again, looking forward to playing Kirb. Big thanks for him to playing in the GLCC here for our inaugural season. As he's not even really a competitive Pokemon player, he enjoys it, I'm pretty sure, but he's not like actively trying to improve his skills or anything like that. He's just having some fun. As you can tell by his draft, he round one-ed. Initially it was Jumpluff, but he made a trade to make it Hoppip, because yes, why not? So there you go. Looking forward to playing against him here in week 6 of the GLCC. I will see you guys in the battle. Okay, and here we are with the battle. Again, this is not live commentary. If you skip to this point, then I explained a little bit more in depth why this isn't live comm in the previous section. So if you're curious as to why this isn't live comm, then I do explain it over there. You can go ahead and see that. But yeah, sorry again that everything went pretty awry here. About everything in this battle from like every standpoint ever went pretty poorly, including the recording of the battle. So sorry about that. This video is also going to be very, very late, I imagine, as it is already Wednesday, and I usually upload rather on like Sunday or Monday, so that's pretty bad. But here we are. Here we are indeed. Now watching over our week 6 GLCC battle against Mr. Kirb and his team of grass types here. As you can see, he did end up bringing the Hoppip, so that's going to be pretty fun. We also see Shaman, which is going to be pretty interesting. I wasn't exactly hoping for Shaman to come, because I didn't think it could come, and so now that it's here, not too sure what it would be doing. Other than that, though, I expected the other 4 Pokemon, or I guess the other 5, including Hoppip, all to come. And so going in here, I have pretty high hopes for me winning this battle, so I'm just going to go ahead and lead Gouging Fire and attempt to set up. Depending on what he leads here, it could be bad, and it's going to be that Hydrapple. And so we're going to substitute on it just to scout what it's going to go for. And at this point, I know that it's not great because it's revealed Nasty Plot. And so now I don't have nearly as many safe switch-ins into this now that it's doubled special attack here. And so I figured, though, oh, if it's Nasty Plot, then I can just go ahead and go for a Dragon Dance. It'll probably break my sub, and then I will just go ahead and kill it with Outrage. As at +1, I do believe I do kill this. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do here. And so I Dragon Dance, hooray, and we see a Reflect. This is like worst case scenario, because now we don't kill with Outrage, and it can go ahead and set up another Nasty Plot, or it can break my sub, and at +2, I still won't kill with Outrage through the Reflect. And so this has gone from a pretty solid opening to me, setting up a Dragon Dance on this Hydrapple, where I would be able to kill it, and just with the 1 Reflect, now this is like a complete horrible position for me. And so I decide to just go ahead and Dragon Dance again, as you can see right about now, and it's going to decide to break my substitute here. Very, very bad sequence of events here. And so in this instance, instead of switching out into, say, a Levitator like Flygon or Latios, I decide to scout for Draco Meteor, Fickle Beam, or another Dragon move. I guess it could be Dragon Pulse as well. And so now we do know its entire set. I'm glad I did make that scout, because going into like Latios, for example, would be really bad just to lose it immediately to Fickle Beam. But unfortunately now Goyo is very low, and at only 2 times attack and speed, it's not going to be able to kill this Hydrapple behind a Reflect. And so I'm actually going to switch out here into Dragalge. This is my first of many mistakes. I think that in this position, it's very, very unlikely for me to get Gouging Fire in and safely start setting up again. Maybe I could have done so against the Hoppip, as you'll see a little bit later. But yeah, it's not easy anymore to sweep with Gouging Fire, considering I can't really substitute here. It'll just break my sub, and I'll be at even lower HP. And so at this point, I think I actually should have just attacked and taken my damage into the Hydrapple, as removing Hydrapple opens up the game for me immensely here. as there's not too many other tools that are traditional dragon slayers, as you could say. And so just taking my damage here would have been the correct play. Obviously, I would trade the Gouging Fire for that damage, which isn't exactly outstanding. But I instead decide to go straight into Dragalge. This is bad for a couple of reasons. This thing has revealed Earth Power. This, the Gleeok, as it's called, that's a Zelda reference, has revealed Earth Power. So if it Earth Powered here, that would have been really bad for Dragalge. This is also bad for a second reason. I did do the calculation and I lived a Fickle Beam. I didn't leave any like Draco Meteor or any other those powerful dragon type attacks, but Fickle Beam should be fine. Except for it's not. It kills me through the Haban Berry. You can see the text on the screen that says the opposing Gleeok is going all out for this attack, and that's because of Fickle Beam's mechanic, where I think it's like a third of the time it'll just randomly double in power from like 65, I think it is normally, to like 110. And so unfortunately I got rolled here with that. So that's bad. That's really bad. And so Dragalge instantly goes down here, and the matchup is looking way worse now, because how am I going to kill this Gleeok? It's at full health. I just lost my main check to it. I also just lost my main check to the physical attackers in the back of the team. So this is looking really, really bad. Puts me in a dire situation for sure. And so we're going to go down here, and this is also bad because, as I said, there was a lot of banter between me and Kirb being good friends. I told him that I was going to 6-0 him. As you can see, I'm currently losing, and I just lost my first Pokemon. And so at this point, you can see he's saying, not 6-0, let's go, in the chat. Because I am still expecting that I'll be able to win this game somehow, just because the matchup is quite atrocious to him. But yeah, I am not going to get that 6-0, which is pretty tragic. So we go Latios, and I'm going to click Ice Beam here for some quad damage, quad super effective damage, and it still doesn't kill the Gleeok. So had I lived, then I would have outsped. I could at least Draco Meteor for some damage, it would kill me, and then I would go into here and click Ice Beam and it would die. But that didn't happen. So unfortunately I had to click Ice Beam there. Fortunately, Kirb does make a mistake here by going for a greedy second Nasty Plot here, and another Ice Beam is going to take it out, which is great. And now we go Lilligant here. Lilligant also barely lives in Ice Beam. In my calculator, this said this killed, so I guess Kirb invested correctly in bulk, and he's going to go ahead and triple Axle me. As you'll notice, though, it only hit one time, and the one time was a crit, so it's a little bit of a trade for luck, but had that hit 3 times and there were no crits, then my Latios actually does die. And so that's pretty bad for Kirb. I got lucky here with Latios surviving this turn. And now I can just Ice Beam again, and Lilligant's gonna go down. And now in comes Vileplume. I'm like, well, this could be, most likely if I had to guess, it's gonna be Terra Water to sort of stop the Gouging Fire that would run this team otherwise. And I expect it to just go ahead and Terra Water, so I'm actually going to switch out. Now that I'm choice locked into Ice Beam, I'm just going to go out into a mon that I think that I can afford to use as a scout, and it actually goes and Terra Poisons. And this is interesting to me for a couple of reasons. I wasn't too sure what his plan was against Gouging Fire, since it's Terra Poison and not Terra Water. I think that had I actually like gotten Gouging Fire in a winning position, then there was a very high likelihood that I did just 6-0 this matchup. But that's not the reality that we live in. And Kirb is going to Moonblast me. I did not know that this guy got Moonblast. That's crazy, man. That is crazy. What is this guy doing with the strongest fairy move that's widely distributed in the game? Why does he have it? That's crazy to me. And so I get completely caught off guard here, and I sacrifice my Cyclizar, which is not the worst Pokemon to sacrifice, but at the same time, oh no, it has Moonblast. That's not great. So I have to kill it this next turn pretty much. Otherwise, this is gonna Moonblast down the rest of my team. I instead go into Latios just to click Luster Purge. And it lives. Absolutely tragic. Very, very good EVs on Kirb's part here. The Hydrapple barely lived. The Lilligant barely lived. And now this Vileplume Terra Poison barely lived. And so what this means is it's going to Moonblast my face, and now my Scarfer is down, which is not exactly ideal. As if this is like Sash Tailwind now, then Zarude can run rampant. Even Shaman can run rampant in this endgame. So yeah, not exactly what you like to see, that clutch survival coming out of Gar the Vileplume here. And at this point, I'm sort of shaking in my boots. I realize now that all of my smack talk that I did previous to this battle is really not coming to fruition. Even if I win like 3-0, that's a close game. 3-0 is a very like respectable scoreline for a game. I'm already like, even if I win right now, I would not have won in a very like standout way that the smack talk would have been like, that it would have been merited. And as you'll see here, we go into Roaring Moon here, and we do have the booster energy speed in order to outspeed, but I have to acrobatics, and this is not exactly great. It reveals Rocky Helmet also, by the way. This is not great for me for a couple of reasons. He does just sack the hop up, which is great, but now acrobatics actually doesn't quite KO the Zarude. Maybe I should have Dragon Danced on the Hoppip, but I feared that it would be Sash, and I would have to break it. And so I felt like Dragon Dancing was a bit of a throw, because 2 Dazzling Gleams from Hoppip did take me out. And so, yeah, that was my logic for just going ahead and attacking it. I felt like I kind of had to in that instance. But yeah, I guess since it wasn't Scarf, had I Dragon Dance there, I also would have just straight up cleaned up the rest of the game. But unfortunately, Zarude is going to live now, and it's going to CC me. Roaring Moon goes down. 2 versus 2, a very, very close contest in a matchup that should pretty much always be won by me on paper. I go ahead and First Impression, and now it's down to just the Goober, the Shaman, and Dazzling Gleam comes out. This takes a ton of damage. This is a neutral Dazzling Gleam from a non-stab attack, and that's because this is Specs. This is going to be Specs, almost max special attack, if I remember correctly, from Kirb. And his pace that he showed me after the battle. But yeah, unfortunately now, Goyo's not going to take a second one of those, and so I don't get any chance to do damage off with Goyo here, and now it's up to Flygon. In this position, I realize that I've lost. There's a world where I First Impression, and I get a critical hit, and I win. But if I don't get a critical hit, then Shaman is just going to end up winning this game, because I actually don't kill right now with Banded, Adamant, Max Attack, First Impression from Flygon, which is not great. It's a 2-hit KO, and obviously I can't click it twice, so I decide to instead click U-Turn. And U-Turn is also bad for a couple of reasons. One is because I'm slower. I have to pray that this guy is not very fast. I have to hope that it's like a bulky but also hard-hitting set, and it sacrifices speed as its main stat. And as you'll see here, it's faster. And so the game is sealed. I've lost what is definitely a win that I should have had on paper. Obviously, all of my Pokemon resist his main stab, and he didn't even have a single fairy type on his team. And it's all over now as U-Turn does 75 but can't crit, and Jackal goes down. And so a very, very tragic 1-0 victory for Kirb. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's why you don't underestimate a matchup that you should always win on paper, and that's why, ladies and gentlemen, you also don't talk excessive amounts of smack. I sent like one of my friends is in a very competitive league where if you get a 6-0, they'll literally buy you a pizza. And he unfortunately was lined up to get a 6-0, but unfortunately choked it right at the very end and ended up getting a 5-0. And so I decided to taunt him before this game by sending a picture of myself with a pizza saying, "Decided to celebrate my 6-0 against Kirb coming up soon." That did not go according to plan, let's just say. So I definitely got some instant karma here with Kirb beating me out. He brought the right Pokemon, what can I say? I did not know that Vileplume got Moonblast, and so that makes complete sense for him to bring it. I did not know, or rather I did know that the Hydrapple could be bad for me, but unfortunately I got a little bit unlucky with that Dragalge getting OHKO'd through the Haban Berry, which is crazy. And then Shaman had the correct set at the end of the day to clean up that endgame. Gouging Fire, man, I don't know, man. It didn't even get a single kill this matchup, and it's against a monotype-grass team. That's pretty pathetic. So definitely not my best showing. I'll have to admit that. I do have some copium though. Right now I am in, like I said at the beginning of the video, if you watch that segment, I'm actually in a finals week for my university here, and I've been very heavily focused on that. As I'm recording this, I actually just played my week 7 game as well and recorded that. And so this is like the only single day of like the past week and a half that I really have in order to record everything and upload. And I also team built like several teams today for the various leagues that I'm in. And then I also have to edit the videos and do everything like that. And so it's been sort of chaotic in terms of not being like prepared long term for these Pokemon battles. I think that had I gone into this battle with a little bit more research, like maybe, oh, I would see that Vileplume had Moonblast, or oh, I would see that I need to be modest on Latios in order to claim these KOs instead of timid. Was I modest? I might have been modest because I was Scarf. I don't even remember my build anymore, but yeah, a lot of those very unfortunate close survivals, and I even got lucky when Lilligant only hit me once with that triple axle. So yeah, you can't even take that away from Kirb. He played very, very well. The only real mistake was going for that second greedy nasty plot, but like it didn't even matter, man. He just cleaned up the rest of the game. So bigger mistakes on my part throughout all of that game. Can't really take anything away from Kirb other than say, oh, I was in finals, I was busy, I wasn't prepared, and that doesn't even matter considering considering the fact that this is pretty much a matchup that I should always win on paper regardless of my prep time. So there you go. I choke, and unfortunately with this choke it means that I'm not going to be able to quite clinch playoffs yet. I think that my chances are still pretty high at this point. I am now 4-2 minus, or no, not minus, +9 on the differential, and I'm in like 5th or 6th place, and so my chances of getting into playoffs are still very, very high. I would have to I would only know after week 7 where I play up against Lostlotl, and that also just happened. I know the result of that game too right now. As I've said, everything is very out of order this week. So with that being said, I will see you guys for week 7. Again, we'll be going up against Lostlotl, and we'll be hoping to clinch playoffs in that game. Until then, go Seattle Slashers.